So we're back on the slide. We're in season 23 now. That's right, Jen. Season 23.
I heard you.
Can you believe that? That's
I
crazy.
can't. It's wonderful.
I know. Well, we're knee deep in episodes that we're recording right now, and we're going to start rolling those out come February, and we may have some video releases coming along the way as well. So, but we're not going to spend a lot of time like chit chatting today because we're going to get right into our guest. So, our guest today joins us from California, and is Mr. David Klein. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, Aaron. How you doing out
Awesome.
there?
We're doing good. We're in South Carolina. I almost forgot where we were for a minute there.
Really.
I almost did, but
That
hey,
kind of
we're it's been that kind of day, I think. But no, we're in South Carolina. It's we've been struggling with 40-degree temperatures, so I'm ready to see it warm up a little bit.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, cool. So we got David Klein here with us now. I got confused too because when I was doing a little backstory and research on Mr. Klein, I happened to see that David Klein invented the jelly bean. And so, not to disappoint everyone out there, but we've got Captain Fun here today. So, Mr. David Klein, tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Cool. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on,
You're
Aaron,
welcome.
Jen. Excited to be here. I wish I was as cool as the David Klein who invented the jelly bean. He sounds pretty fun, and I do bring fun, but I bring it in other ways than sugar fun. I bring fun on the baseball field.
There you go.
I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But my name is David Klein, live in Northern California. I am the fun baseball experience guy. Grew up playing baseball all throughout my upbringing. Was a star in high school, went on to play Division I baseball at the University of California, Santa Barbara City College. And when I was done playing, I was heartbroken. I didn't get drafted. And like many of the little young guys out there and the kids of the parents, I wanted to be a big leaguer. And
Yeah.
I thought I had a lot of sort of bad coaches. And at the time, I wanted to start my own semi-professional collegiate summer team and youth summer baseball camp. And that was
Okay.
called Legends Baseball Camps. And the collegiate team was called Menlo Park Legends. And that was back in 2009. And so that ran its course for a good 6-7 years, actually 8 years with our collegiate summer team. And the whole idea was taking elite college baseball players from all over the country, put them in host families, and then coach summer camps in a positive, enthusiastic, high energy youth summer baseball camp during the day. And so ran that for about 8 years. Through the college team, I coached 3 big leaguers, 50 guys that move on to professional ranks, hundreds of Division I ball players, and took a high school coaching job. That ran its course for 3 years. That was in 2016. COVID hit, shook everything up. And obviously, throughout that 2016 period to COVID, started a youth academy essentially, and did tournament baseball and travel ball. And that's really when I was exposed to the good, the bad, the ugly of youth travel ball.
Right.
And so when COVID hit, we were told that we could only engage kids in 12-man stable pods. That's when everything changed, and we had to get clever and crafty and creative for how to engage kids in the modern world with just 12-man stable pods. So as for what comes next, we'll probably get into that, but that's really my story. I'm a parent myself of 2 kids. I got a 5 and a 2-year-old. I absolutely love what I do, and excited to share lots of good information and my journey and what I've created with your listeners.
Awesome. Well, what was that experience like for you? So going through, you went through, I'm assuming travel ball seems to just really blew up over the last maybe 10, 12 years or so. When I was going to school, we didn't have travel ball. I remember we had Pony League and Colt. So what was your experience? I mean, so did you played Little League, I assume, and what was the next steps into before high school?
Yeah, well, when I played, the travel ball in high school was just starting out, and I think travel ball and tournament baseball really took shape right around the turn of the century. So like
Sure.
right around year 2000. And so I graduated high school in 2015, and I probably started to play in some of the first travel teams to ever be out there. And they were very different. You'd play some tournaments, but it wasn't like tournaments every weekend like now. And then you'd play like pickup games with other tournament teams and things like that. But it wasn't the big industry that it is
The
now.
machine.
So it's just different. And so I saw it at how it started. And then obviously when I got into it and I was running my own tournament teams, things were just completely different. And I didn't really know what I was getting into until I got into it, but it was definitely different.
Yeah, I can imagine. So one of the things that stuck out to me as I'm reading through, obviously, you and I, we connected on not LinkedIn, we connected on Twitter. I get all of these social media platforms just jumbled all in together, but
there's a bunch.
Yeah, an epic baseball experience. All right, so that's out there. So what exactly is an epic baseball experience?
All right, so in my opinion, most of the opportunities for kids to play baseball, they're okay. They're nothing incredible. They're not too overwhelming. They're not too underwhelming. They're just kind of middle of the road. And what happens is you get a situation where you have a number of different providers, travel ball teams, little leagues, rec. They all offer a version of the exact same thing. You're going to show up at the field for practice. Quick talk. You're going to go touch the foul pole. You're going to stretch. You're going to dynamic warm up. You're going to throw. You're going to do some drills. Then you get into your, end of the day games. Okay. And it becomes very mundane and very forgettable. And they say routine is the death of memory, meaning that the more routines that you go through, the more that it's very standard and the same thing over and over again, that's fairly forgettable. And so for me, what an epic baseball experience looks like is offering something for kids that is meaningful, memorable, completely different. And ultimately, what we want to do is create an environment for the kids that they are a changed human being from when they showed up at your program to when they leave. And this epic baseball experience, it's not limited to what happens at the baseball field. The experience is way more all-encompassing than that. It's from the moment the parent clicks purchase on the web to the very last email they receive. That's the experience, and that's the opportunity for growth. When we think about engaging our kids with baseball, well, first off, I think that most travel ball programs out there, they provide a coaching service.
Right.
It's not an experience.
Right.
Okay. And what we aim to do is we want to engage the kids for, like I said, for the moment they sign up to the last email they receive. And it's not just the player too at the field. What can we give them off the field? What can we inspire them to do beyond practice? How can we engage the entire family so that the entire family system surrounds that player and creates an experience which is so meaningful, so memorable, so transformational that they'll never want to do anything else, because this program was so impactful in their development that no parent, no child would ever want to go anywhere else, because it was so dynamic and so diverse in the way that it served our kids. Or it served them. So for me, what we did was we looked at every single thing that made our baseball program more fun, more unique, more memorable, more impactful, and we doubled down on that. And then we looked at everything that everybody else did that was kind of boring, that was kind of standard, and we just completely eliminated that. And that's what we've been creating with our baseball experiences, and that's what I'm really excited to teach and inspire other coaches to do in their communities as well.
Yeah.
You consider yourself to be a businessman, David?
I would consider myself to be an entrepreneur first.
There you go.
I chose baseball as sort of how I wanted to show up and solve problems and serve. So yeah.
Give people solutions to a problem. Right. So I'm a business owner. And if you've never read the book, Never Lose a Customer Again, you should read that one. It's all about exactly what you just talked about, the customer experience. So when they they may call a league just because it's the first one that popped up on Google, right? Well, they may call that one and two other ones, but I guarantee you that the person that responds to their question or inquiry first and actually follows through on what they say they're going to do, then they're going to go with that program, no matter how much money they have to spend, no matter if it's 15 more minutes down the road. That's not going to matter at that point. It's going to be who came back to them and gave them the response that they needed in that moment. And then everything else will, I just feel like, will work out. So like you're already like really inspiring me, because I'm going to start with 6U softball this year. So I've been with ragball, and well, that's what they call t-ball around here. I'm not sure what the name is for it. We're in Northern California, but so I'm moving to 6U softball with my daughter, and I'm going to be the commissioner. So the commish. So it's going to be interesting, because I want to create that for the parents in our league, because I want them to stay around. So this is just rec ball. It's not travel ball, but you know, we've discussed, Aaron, so many times how we want to keep people in our rec league instead of feeling like at 10 or 12 years old, they have to go out and play travel ball, that they're not going to get good competition unless they do that.
Right.
So I want to be that person for our league. I really do. And so I'm interested to hear more from you and see like what ages you even, you know, kind of deal with now currently, and what, if you've done anything with like the super little kids before, because I know that if I can capture the hearts of those parents, that at this point, yeah, I need to get along with the kids and I'm going to make it fun. That's the easy part. But I think winning over the parents and giving them what they need is the hard part.
Yeah, totally. Well, I love your vision and mission for what you want to create with your 6U kids. And I don't think there's any age that's too early to start serving kids in a super deep and meaningful way, and create a fun experience for the families too.
Yeah.
And so for you, Jen, what I would do, and if for any listener out there, is I would sit down and I would write out or brainstorm with your other coaches all of the possibilities of things that could make a softball team experience and everything that's associated with it more fun for a 6-year-old. Okay. Post-game pizza, ice cream parties, a parent-child game, there's a number of different things, potlucks, sending videos out, giving them challenges for things that they can do from practice to practice. These are all like the things that's in sort of our playbook that we'll do that just make it so much more fun. So there's the on-field experience, and then there's everything else that most and a lot of coaches, travel ball providers, little leagues, rec leagues, they're just missing out on. And so I had a parent that came to me picking my brain, Jen, last year, and he was in my program, and I just basically said, hey, just model everything that we are doing, from doing holiday giving drives to having music at home games, to allowing them to be in groups with their friends, to giving them custom jerseys, to have prizes at practices. There's so many different things that one can do. But I've found that a lot of providers, especially like these old school baseball folk or even softball folk out there, they'll just go back to doing what they've been doing forever because it's worked in their mind, which is kind of just showing up and doing the same old dog and pony show that we always do. But for the modern kid in 2023, with video games and instant gratification and everything is on demand, we can do so much better for the game of baseball and softball. And unfortunately, with baseball and softball, there's not a lot of oversight and direction from Little League, from USA Baseball. With youth soccer, for instance, you have organizations that will give you required, recommended, or mandated training programs and things that you can and should do. So we're kind of out there on our own trying to create this thing. But I think that all of us can do a better job in the modern world of modifying this experience to make it more essentially human-centered, more modern, more fun for the kids of nowadays. So hopefully something in there inspired you in some way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I got a couple of really good ideas from you. I have my own storefront. Actually, I just moved on this side of town to open my new business. So I'm having ideas of like having the coaches come in and have a little coaches clinic even if nobody else is doing that, that's what I'm going to be doing. I partner with a registered dietitian, so she's going to come in as well and just kind of talk about fueling your body properly. And I know that they're 6, but like it just seems like this is the time and the place to do it because, like you said, they're always on their phones. They're always on, not always. I won't say that, but
Well, some of them are.
some of them are. But
Sure.
being able to let them know, like, you know, if you want to be able to perform at this higher level, this is what you need to fuel your body with. So that's what I'm going to offer to my parents and, well, my coaches first of all, and then my parents of my team, and then hopefully it'll just grow from there and become a movement in the community. I hope.
I think it totally can. And it's never too early to start engaging kids with those sort of holistic development practices, whether it be how to sleep better, how to be a better friend, how to be a better family member, how to eat better, how to take care of your mind, like all of this, being a better teammate, all of this stuff. It may not impact all of the kids all of the time, but even if it just impacts a few of the kids with one of the things that you teach, it's going to make a big difference in their lives. And unfortunately, as time's gone on, less kids are going to church. There's less institutions like Boy Scouts. Kids are generally not getting the life lessons in school. It's up to great coaches like us out there that are intentional about how they want to get kids to show up in the world that can give them different skills that they're not going to get elsewhere because they're not. And so I wrote this playbook. This is my Speedball playbook. It's got 10 levels in it, and I can email it to you. And there's 10 different lessons, and every week they got to go home and they got to, the first one's about setting goals. And then we talk about routines. They got to develop a at-bat routine, but we have them set morning routines as well. We talk about reset strategies so that they can actually have tangible, actionable reset strategies after they make an error on the field. But then we have them take them one step further, an actionable strategy, and we give them 10 examples. They got to write down their own of 10 of ways that they can reset themselves off in the world too when they feel themselves spiraling. So again, we're not only giving themselves things so that they can eat better before practice, ways that they can eat better for the rest of their lives, because as you know, Coach Jen and Aaron, that most of our kids, 99% of them are not going to be Major League Baseball players, professional softball players out there. So the skills that you give them as far as how to hit the ball further, throw the ball harder, where to throw the ball, those things in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, they're never going to need that again. So what kind of things can we teach them at the young age that they will be able to bring with them for the rest of their lives? And I do believe that most coaches are missing the boat on this. And most coaches say they do it, and they might give an inspirational chat at the end of practice, but that's not good enough for the kids of nowadays. And so with this playbook, what comes along with it, with all these little weekly lessons, is a video where I'm sitting just in this office that you see right here. Kids engage better with a screen than they do with you in person. You can't lecture a kid anymore. You can't talk to them for 30 to 60 seconds or more at practice. So we'll send a short video with this that they watch with their parents at home. And then they begin to develop some shared language around these reset strategies, around mindfulness, about how they're going to treat people better, things like that. And so we've heard from a lot of families that our programs, and by the way, Jen, we start as young as 6 or 7 as well. They don't just impact the child, only that child, they impact the entire family.
Well, that whole structure starts to change and adjust to those things as well.
Because if you ask a kid in a little group after a game and you say, okay, remember tonight you're supposed to get your bedtime routine together, and then tomorrow at practice we're going to get our batting stance routine together, or our walk-up routine together, that kid, well, I know my daughter is going to keep me accountable for that. Coach Jim said we had to do that tonight. We got to do it. And so, I think
totally. And we have a, I don't see any reason why. Of course, we want intrinsic motivation for our kids, but we created something called Legends tokens. I don't know if I have any around me, but they're little wooden tokens. We use them at summer camp. And when a kid does a lesson, he gets a token. And we have a really cool prize box that has Big League Chew and baseball cards and candy in it. We got headbands, we got wristbands, we got hats, we got old vintage shirts from back in the day. And every few weeks at our speedball games, after the games, they take up their tokens and they redeem their tokens for prizes at the prize box. And so it's just ways to make it fun. And we found that it just works. It just works with these kids. And you know, this book works too. And you don't need to get fancy with it. You can literally just print out worksheets and give it to them, or put together a PDF and send it out. You can give a flashcard and have them write down, you know, watch a Major League Baseball game or softball game and write down 3 examples of teamwork that they've seen, and just come in and turn it in, and everyone gets, you know, two pieces of double bubble. You don't need to get crazy with it. It's just simple stuff. And it allows you to make your program different than everything else out there, which makes it more memorable, more meaningful. And ultimately, like I said, the idea is to create a transformational experience. And I've seen that, maybe not for every single kid, but for a lot of our kids, if you were to ask our families, they're a different child from when they left the program from when they came in. And that for me is what drives me to keep doing this work.
I couldn't agree any more. So I'm going to go back like a while back, and you said the word inspire. And, you know, that's the I in the slide for us. So we've got sportsmanship, leadership, inspire, dedication, and excitement. And that's what, hopefully we've got some coaches listening, you know, to this, that if this is your first season that you're coaching, understand what, you know, what you're in for. You know, are you, you know, do you take time to plan out a practice? You know, are you on purpose about what you have going on when you've got those kids' attention? And I think that's where I've found, and Jen and I both have had this conversation around, you know, sometimes you just get voluntold that you're going to coach a team. Like you're the only dad and just happens to speak up, and you get voluntold you're now the coach. But there's so much benefit that can come from having an engaged coach that cares about those little small things. And I'm, you know, I'm a rec league coach with Jen. I attended Coach Ball Games camp last season, and I took my son. And I'm going to tell you, and I took away so many things from that camp, because as a spectator, I was glued. I was watching James and how he navigated and handled everything, and he made a difference in my son. And I couldn't do that on my own. And it was a humbling experience. And it spoke to almost identical as to how you're saying is you want to create an experience for those kids that's not the normal experience. That's not, you know, what they're used to. And parents will fall in love with you for that. And look, last season, I had kids out, they were learning how to stand in the outfield and in a ready stance. And, you know, one of the things Coach Ballgame did is he wants dancing on the toilet. So we're bending over and we're dancing, we're shaking our booty, we're dancing on the toilet. But I couldn't get the kids to, I have 8U right now, and I couldn't get the kids to quite buy into the dancing on the toilet. So I put a different spin on it, and I threw twerking on the toilet. And then I had the kids involved. And so, but it's amazing. I think when we're coaches of youth, like, we need to understand the power that we have that comes with that position, and how many lives that you can truly impact. So I want to talk about Speedball, though, because I know we've talked about the playbook. But so you guys developed and came up with what's now Speedball. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Before I do, I want to make sure all the listeners out there with the music, okay? Yeah. Your kids get out of the car and they arrive at practice, have music just dumping from the field, just blaring freaking fun music. It just sets the stage for a fun time, and you can connect about the music. So you mentioned dancing on the toilet. I love it. Okay. Music is a requirement of mine and my coaches. And you just get one of those Ion speakers, look up 2023 kid hits, you know, and and as they arrive, we're talking about activating all of their senses. Okay. If you can send them home with just a little bit of sugar in their mouths, okay, with some bubble gum, activate how their sounds as they leave and arrive at the field with fun, upbeat music. Again, this is different. It's completely memorable. And it just sets the stage for a fun experience, which is really what we're about, because if they're having fun, they're going to stay in the game, and the more they can stay in the game, the more you can transform their lives and serve them. So totally love Coach Ball Game, love his work, and looking forward to hopefully seeing him live myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to get that out there.
Yeah.
Speedball. Sorry. I get excited about this.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. All right. So when we were told in Northern California, we could only engage 12 kids at a time for 3 weeks minimum when COVID hit. So we had to figure out, how do you engage kids, 12 kids, and play real baseball games? And what we learned through trial and error was that if you had a coach pitching, like a coach pitch thing, just in the middle, for like a scrimmage type deal, the minimum number of kids that you could use to play a game and still make it be baseball would be 12, because you need 3 on the bases and a hitter. Coach is a pitcher, and then 8 defensive players. So you got 12 kids. Okay. 3 teams of 4, rotating from hitting priority, 3 outfielders and a catcher, to infield, first base, second base, shortstop, third base. So we were doing that at summer camp, working, kids having a blast, started to develop some of our own rules. We took that into the fall of 2020 because there was nobody else doing anything. And we said, we're starting because again, only 12-man pods, 4 versus 4 versus 4 baseball league. We'll take groups of 12, we'll practice together. And then after the first few weeks, we're going to put them in teams of 4, and we're just going to compete against each other. It sold out. Not only that, everybody after the first 8-week season, they wanted it again, sold out again. And then we weren't even going to do a winter season going up into Little League of 2021. We sold out another one. So we did 3 straight seasons, getting it better and better every single season, modifying the rules, progressing with the kids. And so then they go off to Little League, and halfway through Little League season, everyone's reaching out to me like, David, when are you going to bring 4 versus 4 versus 4 baseball back again? We can't stand Little League. It's so boring. We're definitely not doing travel ball. That was the coolest thing. And that's when it got me started thinking. I was like, wow, like, maybe I'm on to something here. Maybe there's something more here. And that at that time, I was like, I have a choice. I can either go back to doing travel baseball and tournament baseball games again, or I can try taking this thing 4 versus 4 versus 4 baseball to the next level, knowing that it could fail. But at the end of the day, I knew a lot of people would sign up for it. And the question was, could I make it sticky enough that people would want to come back for time and time again?
Right.
So at that point, we came up with the idea, the word Speedball. It just worked. Got some cool logos together, threw up registration, and then we essentially, sold out our first league, which was in the fall of 2021. So not that long ago. And since then, it's just exploding. Like, I mean, once someone comes and plays Speedball, they never want to play other types of baseball again. So now all the best players in our little leagues, they now play Speedball in the off season. They don't play travel baseball. So,
okay.
And what you have is we got is now is we have 4 different divisions. We go from coach pitch up to kid pitch. We have coach pitch. We have then we have like a more of advanced coach pitch. We have kid pitch, coach catch, which is something that we've invented. And then we have just kid pitch only. And then it goes from 6 to 12. We think it's perfect for 6 to 12-year-olds. And we have 4 different rule books. We have 10-week seasons, 6 to 10-week seasons. We franchise the concept. We're now the only registered franchise in the country that specializes in baseball or softball. And we're looking to take this system of what we've created from, again, from the moment someone registers with one click of the button to how we put them in teams, how we create rosters and standings, and how we communicate with their parents, to how we send videos, to how we market and tell the story online to capture attention, to how we send emails. All of it's created in one ecosystem. And we believe that this is going to be the future of how kids are engaged with youth baseball and softball. So we have incredible. 6 locations in Northern California. We're doing it with softball now. It's just working, and I couldn't be more excited for grow this thing, hopefully to be in every city.
Yeah. What are you hearing from players that they love most about it?
Well, they say baseball, they say baseball is a game of failure, but how do you make it a game of opportunity? You create more opportunities. In a typical youth baseball game, kids might get 2, 3, 4 at bats.
Mm-hmm.
In a speedball game, the kid is going to get, in a coach pitch game, 10 to 15 at bats in a game minimum. If for some reason there's some teams of 3 or 4, they might get 20 at bats in an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes.
Wow.
6 to 10 at bats in a kid pitch game. So in one speedball game, they're going to get more at bats than you might get in 3 to 5 little league games or an entire weekend of travel ball. They're playing every single position. They never sit the bench. The only time they're waiting to sit the bench is when they're waiting for their turn to hit. And for the modern child, standing out in right field for 10 to 15 minutes is just boring. And we can do better than that. And that's what speedball offers. The opportunity for kids to play with their friends, play every position. We have walkout songs, music, announcers, scoreboards up there, custom jerseys, names on the back of their jerseys, whatever they want their team names to be. It creates an experience that is so rich with fun and excitement and memories. In a speedball game, everyone has their moment. Everyone has success out there. Everyone plays shortstop. Everyone's learning. There's more failure. There's more repetitions, which means more learning. And ultimately, more learning builds more confidence, and more confidence brings more fun. Yeah. So that's what we've done with speedball.
That's awesome. I mean, I get cold chills thinking about it. That's pretty awesome, because even in today's just little league environment, like, take where we are in South Carolina. I remember that, Jen. Like, even our practice times are now crammed in between other practice, teams wanting to practice. And, when you say 15 to 20 at bats during a speedball game, like that's even pushing it for a practice right now for some of these kids. And so I like the idea of sense of urgency, constantly moving, keeping their attention. I mean, because, what is a reel or a story now? 15 seconds? That's about how much you have to engage a kid, I think it is, or like 17 seconds or something. So you do have to make it impactful. So I love that. What do you think, Jen? We want to play some speedball?
I do. Bring it on.
I do.
I mean, I encourage anybody out there. I mean, look, I think it's not like I've uncovered something that's like off the walls here. People have been doing a version of speedball at practice for years. I was at the ABCA last weekend, and people are like, oh yeah, we do that. Like, what's the difference? Well, the difference is we've turned it into an experience. It's not just the rules here. And so those who get that are the ones that we're looking for, that are interested in bringing not just the game to practice, but the full-on experience. But for anybody out there that's listening, the speedball makes for an awesome end of practice game. Split your group up. It worked for 12 to 15 kids, right in that range. You can even go down to 11 or so. 3 teams, just evenly split up, rotating from hitting to outfield to infield. We like to go 5-run limit per inning. It just works. Switching up positions every inning, keeping score on the scoreboard. The left side of the scoreboard, that's the first team to hit. The inning, we use that as the middle team to hit. We call it the rover. And then the last team to hit, that will go up on the scoreboard as the last score on the scoreboard. And whoever scores the most runs wins. And you can imagine how this thing has just continued to evolve as we've created rule books over the years. And so it's just been a really fun, and it's really fun for the coaches to execute too. And it takes the ego out of winning and losing like tournaments, because we're just out there to just oversee a fun developmental experience for these kids. And so it's not, so when you create a speedball league or a speedball environment, it's just, hey, how can I make it so that these kids just play even good quality baseball? And I'm not worried about beating my travel team, beating up on other travel teams. No, it's just like, how can we take all the kids. I don't know why people are cutting kids at the ages of 6 through 10 nowadays. They all deserve access to good coaches.
Yeah, they do.
And we just take them all. We place them in age specific skill levels. That's perfect for their skill level. And we put them in even teams, and we just allow them to beat up on each other.
So you have a top, middle, and a bottom of the inning, I guess, right?
Yeah, you do.
Uh,
Yep.
so
Yeah, that's
who's
pretty
in the
cool.
middle? Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
That is
And
awesome.
we found we can typically get through a full 9 inning game, coach pitch style. So
Really?
kids are, yeah. Oh yeah. Kids are, Aaron, kids are out of breath playing baseball. Like they're like, God, Captain Fun, can I take a breath? I'm tired. I'm like, good. Like you should be tired. Like it's a sport.
Right.
Like why are we gonna? They're just standing around in regular baseball. It's not good enough for nowadays. We're wondering why kids are falling out of the game of baseball, why attendance is down for youth and adults across the board. Well, it's boring. Like I have trouble watching baseball sometimes, and
I
I'm
struggle.
obsessed with baseball. It's slow.
Yeah.
Okay, we can speed it up. I mean, Major League Baseball is doing so much to speed up Major League Baseball for the fan. What are we doing to speed up youth baseball? That's where it starts. Speed up the playing experience instead of the viewing experience for kids. And that's what's going to capture more young baseball lovers.
What do you think about, and this is going to be a little off topic, but I saw this headline the other day, but minor league organizations go into computerized strike zones?
I'm open-minded to it because I'm open-minded to change.
Hmm.
I'd like to see it. Believe it or not, I am a bit of a traditionalist.
Yeah.
And I think once kids get to 13, 14, like 15, like regular baseball should be good enough at that time. So again, I'm open-minded to it. Not
Yeah.
super strong feelings right now. It's certainly gonna be weird, but I think for anybody that is in baseball, we need to look at what's gonna make baseball. How can we evolve the game to make it better?
Right.
And I think this is one of those things that they're trying out, and I think
I
we should
think
all
that
be a
would make it a little bit faster,
little bit
but
faster. Yeah.
maybe because it is what it is. You don't have an umpire to argue with. But then are we going to put umpires out of a job because it's going to be computerized? And you can look at that from even just the fast food industry. They're replacing workers with AI that can fill your order. So I think it's probably coming. I don't know how I feel about it because I think it'll take the traditional, the feel of the game away a little bit. But yeah, you're right. It's probably coming with, instant replays and everything else that they've implemented as well.
Well, like I don't even remember. So when I was growing up, and so I grew up the 90s, I graduated in 96, but I lived and breathed baseball for, I mean, there was Sunday night baseball, there was Tuesday night doubleheader, there was Friday night doubleheader, and then we're in the South, so I had Braves every other time. And I don't know how I sat through so many games. And like, because now as an adult, in whether it's society has lowered my attention span or something, but it's a challenge to get through it. And myself, and running this show, we get kids on the show all the time talking about all these major league players, and I'm like, I'm just going to have to trust you, buddy, because I know some of the names, but I can't. It's hard for me to sit through some of that. So, but I agree. Going back to even just the kids in the outfield, chasing butterflies, like we should never give them that opportunity. It should be a constant moving them around, constantly keeping them engaged type of situation. So
Yeah, I mean it's really hard for us to compete with Fortnite on a 72-inch 4K
right.
LCD TV, and then we're gonna have them go from that onto the baseball field and stand out there, and then we're like gonna yell at them for not focusing. This kid's 8 years old. Like he's been given iPads since he was 2.
Yeah.
Like we got to make the game more engaging for them and more fun.
Yeah, I think you'll find though too that a lot of the kids that are infatuated with baseball may not play those games. I think it's a different breed. The ones that are really truly in love with the game, I don't think that they play Fortnite and stuff. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like they are outside throwing ball around. They're at practice. They're at academy getting the newest gear. I don't know.
I definitely think the kids that are going to become best at baseball are the ones that are out there playing in the streets, picking teams, competing, learning mental toughness, like probably how we grew up, which is playing ball out until dark. I mean, I just remember playing roller hockey until dark, until my parents would yell at me to come inside. And that was right in Menlo Park. You drive around Menlo Park, my town nowadays, you don't see it. You cannot find kids out on the field.
Yep.
You just
Well,
like
in
we
our
would be
case, you can't get on the field because they're locked. I mean,
they're locked, and yeah, I agree. They're locked. You got all these super nice facilities in some of these affluent communities, and the days of sneaking onto fields and playing home run derby until you can't play anymore. Like kids they're not as good as making their own fun, because these games, they've made our own fun for us. So we see in affluent communities, oftentimes they're getting smoked at these tournaments from these sort of corn-fed kids in different areas that are just outside playing on the streets all the time. That's one of the reasons why, like, the Dominicans and a lot of these third world countries, they're bringing up so many hard throwers, because they're out there throwing rocks for baseballs all day
bricks.
long.
I saw a kid throwing bricks on some videos.
Yeah, that catcher.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just different than what we're used to nowadays here in America.
Yeah.
But I think they're onto something, Jen. I don't think all kids that are good at baseball are not playing video games. I also think that video games, they can make you worse at sports. Like staring at something like this all the time on a phone, I mean, is that going to hurt your peripheral vision? Is it going to give you a sunken chest and a barrel back? Is it going to give you tech neck? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, that technology is not just impacting our brains, but actually our physical abilities as well. Obesity, staying up late, sleep. I mean, all this stuff is impacted by this, the growing rate of technology usage in all of our young kids.
Well, and I didn't, and this was in late 80s, early 90s. Wow, really dating myself right now. But like, I had the ability to stumble on a baseball field, or stumble on what we had at the time, a sandlot, and learn how to play the game without coaches, without umpires. Like, we just played, and I've told this story before, but our backstop was a tree. And so we either got really good at hitting that tree in that same spot, or we were chasing the ball all the time. And so I want kids to be able to experience that, and, realize that if we focus too much on the end result, baseball has taught us it's a humbling sport, and it's going to humble us very quickly. And I think kids need to get outside and learn how to do different things. They need to get their bodies in motion. And like, I am definitely a big proponent of like keeping kids off their phones as long as possible. So, because I think it also hurts their imagination. Like, their imagination changes, and we both have them. My son's a Minecraft. He thinks everybody walks around with a square head, and I'm like, dude, you get outside and look at those trees blowing, feel some nature, right? So
yeah, it's all moderation, right? And if you can teach your kids at a really young age to self-regulate, then you have less of a chance of them going off into high school, into college, to be essentially more or less somewhat addicted to their devices and technology. Right. And you're right. The more that we are putting ideas, pictures, images, social media into their head, filling all of their downtime with that, the less of the time they have for boredom, for creative thought, for innovation, for deep thinking, for just looking out the window while we're driving. And we know that as people get older, they're going to spend more and more time alone. Yeah. And so the capacity for boredom, and just to be with yourself and sit with yourself and be mindful and aware of what's going on for you, that's important. And I think that can be best captured and done by helping our kids develop self-regulation tactics around technology, for sure.
I agree completely. I'm we started this show because we wanted to make an impact. We wanted to make a positive impact. So hopefully, if you're listening right now and you've been on your phone for a while, look, go pick up a baseball, lay down on your bed, and see how many times you can throw it right over your face and catch it. Like, kids today, like, that's how I learned to catch, was laying back on a bed, throwing the ball straight up. And I tried to get my son, well, he was younger, and I'm like, you got to learn how to do this. And he hit himself in the head a couple times, and I'm like, you'll learn though, but you'll learn. So
there was a great, I agree. And it's a practice, right? And it's hard. And I've gone through periods where I'm kind of ultra addicted to my phone, and I try to reset myself. But there was a great researcher by the name of Gloria Mark from UC Irvine, and she did a study on office workers. And this is something that I think can apply directly to youth baseball players or really anybody. Okay. And what she found was that workers, the more that they were interrupted by notifications and email and people coming by their office and pinging on them, okay, the more that they began to self-interrupt with other things as well.
Wow,
like they literally didn't have the ability to focus because they're so used to being interrupted. So if we as baseball players or young softball players, we want them to be in the dugout, we want them to focus on the pitcher, or we want to be in the box and we just want to be reducing all fear, just be focused in the moment. If we just came back from a full day of getting notifications and getting emails and being on our phones and being hyper distracted, it reduces our ability to be in the moment with what we're doing. So that is a really great application for people who are trying to figure out, I don't really care, like I don't get notifications. No, like it's been proven, the more you get the more that you're distracted, the more of a busy mind you have, the more external distractions, the more internal distractions you will create for yourself.
I can see that with myself. Like that's a great point. Yeah. Like I could see how that starts to change your body's, like you're constantly looking for that next distraction almost kind of thing. Or you feel bad or you feel lonely when you don't have that distraction. And I'm a person that I'll go sit in a restaurant and I'll eat by myself and on purpose not pull my phone out, because I just want to be just by myself and alone in my thoughts. And I think that's just lost on this generation right now is, hey, just go sit by yourself for like 5 minutes, think, meditate, whatever you want to do. And you'll come out of that situation a lot more calm than what you went into it in most cases. Jen, it looks like you want to say something.
Oh, there was a time recently, I think it was early December, when I turned all notifications off on my phone. Like I said, David, I'm a business owner. So I was like, I feel like I'm being less productive. I think I'm going to take this step and I'm going to turn notifications off.
That's why she stopped responding. There it is, Dave. That was it.
I was trying to be a better person, Aaron. Trying to be a better person, so that I could get more done at work. And so then I started noticing that I was missing notifications from my kids' school. So it's like I'd get home and it's like, hey, did you see that so such and such is happening at school tomorrow? And it's like, no, I didn't see that at all. So I started to have to turn them back on because that's just the way the world works right now. So, and the same thing with like emails or patients wanting to reschedule. I was like, I feel like I'm missing stuff. So little by little, I started adding stuff back. So I'm not inundated with quite so much at this point. But I think that, like I said, like as a parent, like you're always getting information, whether that's about the kids' school, about,
practice.
Yeah. Practice changes, weather updates, like things like that are important. So,
but hey, what did we do?
I tried.
But what did we do before that though? We still survived.
Yeah, I know.
We survived.
Yeah.
I think
I don't want my kids to show up to school in like they're supposed to be pajama day and they're not in their pajamas. You know,
I think it's really hard, Jen. And I think everyone can relate to what you're talking about, just like constantly being barraged by tech. I think one of the best things that we can do as family folks here, especially with families with kids, because it's so hard, we all need that space to be offline and unplugged a little bit. It's so healthy for us, is to create spaces in our homes or within our families. It is like sacred space to be off technology.
Agreed.
And some of the great spaces to do that are like the kitchen or the dinner table is awesome. Right. Like, no, we have a standard at the dinner table, no matter what, devices are away. Another great place would be like the car. Like we're on our way back from school or a baseball game or a softball game. That is a great time to connect as a family. Maybe it's just Friday nights in general, like channeling like our inner Shabbat, and just, hey, we're just offline, maybe not even TV, as hard as that might be. We're just going to play board games. We're going to talk. We're going to connect. For coaches out there, for me, I didn't allow my kids to bring their devices, never to the field, but also in between games. Like, this is where friendships are made. This is where kids learn about each other, and they make conversation in between games. Like, no, your phones stay in the car. Apple Watches too. And this is where we're truly going to learn about each other, build relationships, and make meaningful memories with kids that we love and we'll go fight for. And I think that teams that are better connected, and you create those connections by being offline, you'll play better. There's a direct correlation
100%.
to performance, both individually and collectively as a team.
Well, and you think you're setting those kids up for success in life. And like you said, the 99 percenters that's not going to play in the MLB, or at least setting them up with understanding how to communicate with others, their peers, to work in a team environment. There's so many benefits that come along with that as well, further down the road in life, that they won't even necessarily recognize right then in that moment. So how about, hey, here's you one day. Can you take all the phones from the parents
Yeah, I was
when they
thinking
come to the
that
field?
too.
Well, if you take all the phones from the parents, then how are they going to capture the video to post on social media?
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I mean, so answer's no.
Update game changer.
Yes, that's right. Game changer's wrong. You know, we haven't got into that space yet, Jen, but I'm hearing it's pretty ruthless out there when someone scores someone else's kid the wrong way in game changer. Apparently that's a pretty big deal. So
giving them an error, but really probably what happened was that that parent doesn't understand what an error is.
Right. Or my kid got a home run.
Doesn't mean that was a hit.
My kid got a home run, but there was 3 errors that happened with overthrows and such. But, you know, it's okay.
Yeah, not a home run.
How can there needs to be an alternative game changer that focuses on process-based metrics.
There you go.
That would be cool.
Go more into that. What do you mean?
How many fist bumps did that kid give? How hard did he cheer? How did he move his runners over? Did he best prepare for the game, or was he not unprepared? Did he get better in the first game as compared to the last game of the season? I mean, that would be something that I can get behind.
Good contact, like a good
all those things that Game Changer is not tracking. Like, that would be really cool if we're able to quantify and measure all these process-based things that coaches are always tracking instead of our results. That would be cool.
Yeah. Well, like thinking about how many attaboys they gave each other, how many times you heard them cheer from the outfield, you know, like those are the intangibles that, like, Game Changer, you know, it's just not like, I love it though. Like, I think we're on to something. We may have to follow up with that, Dave, later. So
I like it.
Yeah, we got to get some like cool sensors out there that, like, yeah, we'll like we put on the kids and like we'll track their fist bumps, track the positive comments coming out of them. I mean,
there we go.
AI's doing some cool stuff out there. That'd be pretty sweet.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
Walk around with some like buttons over their head, and like you can hold the camera up and give them a like, you know, maybe, or something.
But real talk. Like, I was at the ABCA last week and I was sitting there talking with a recruiting like app, and he was telling me it looked like a really cool app, and he was telling me, oh yeah, like, I was like, oh, how are you different? That's always my theme. Like, I want to do things different.
Yep.
And he kind of stumbled around, and I was like, well, he showed me his interface looked pretty cool, and it was, you get your 60 times, you know, how hard you hit the ball, your average, all this stuff. Yeah. But imagine if this app can tell me what type of human being this kid was. Wow. That's what I look for my collegiate team. I tell my head coach of my collegiate team, I just want you bringing in, I want good players, but more importantly, I want good young men. I want good young men and women on the field in Legends gear at all times. If there was an app or a way that we can measure and figure out who these good people were, who had the good heart, the good work ethic, the good teammates, that's what we're after. And that's what us coaches should be looking to develop out on the field. But we spend the majority of our time just focusing on drills and skills. Well,
you know, what if, and then I'm spitballing here, but what if the coaches were responsible for both teams to like assigning sportsmanship awards, teammanship awards, and then they become almost like virtual badges that you could receive? Because here's an experience that I was most proud of in our last year's season is we had a coach come up to us at the end of the game and say, I want to recognize this kid because he was an unbelievable sportsman during this game. And
That's really cool.
Like that's one of those things where like we give a game ball out, but that game ball he got that game was based on his sportsmanship and how he showed himself, or how he, his parents were reflected on that field, how our coaches were reflected. I think it was incredible. So
I don't know if I'm catching your drift totally, Aaron, but was your idea to have a coach on the other team award?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's unique. I never really thought of that before. I mean,
because then that forces your attention to really look at what's going on with the other team and not just always your team.
That's really cool. I almost feel like it'd be more meaningful too to come externally and a little bit more unbiased. Because I mean, we have player of the day stuff, and we give game balls and we write on them, and we have magnets that we'll give for process based thing. But I like that idea. For any listeners out there, take that note down. I think that's a cool thing to do. Hey, how about you going up to the coach at the home plate meeting and say, hey, how about this idea? You take a ball, I'll take a ball, and we award it to somebody on the opposing team who stood out for bringing positive energy or good teamwork or just being a relentless competitor out there. Like that's pretty unique. I really like that.
I like, well, and then I'm Jen. So Jen and I are in the same rec league. I think this would be a cool way to have, game balls just done permanently, is the other coach awards that. And it's different, but imagine, those kids getting recognition from a coach that was trying to beat them. Like that's impressive. Like that's when that's when something really matters to you, is when your opponent is telling you how good you did. So yeah. I think it's like awesome.
If we're in the ideation phase, just an idea of something I used at the high school level when I was coaching there was at the high school level, college level, big league level, you chart, right? So everyone has different charts. You're charting first pitches, you're charting spray charts, things like that. And when my team was not supporting each other, I would have one guy designated for essentially tracking and charting exactly what we're talking about. And at the end of the game, they would report back and be like, oh yeah, Jake was nonstop cheering on his teammates. This guy was the first guy out of the dugout. He was warming up pitchers out there. He was warming up the right fielder all day long. This guy dove for balls nonstop. He didn't make one diving play, but he was diving balls, so you're basically just tracking effort and dedication to giving it your all and giving yourself, not just yourself, but your teammates, the best opportunity to be successful out there.
I love it. I think we need to keep running with that one a little bit, and we'll see what we can come up with. So, well, awesome. Well, hey, David, I don't want to keep you any longer than we've got you. We're approaching now an hour and 15. So that's pretty awesome. I got one last question, and Jen, I'm gonna before I hit that one, I'm gonna leave it to you. You have any questions for Mr. Klein?
No, I think this was really eye-opening and gave me some really fantastic ideas for the upcoming season. So thank you so much.
Yep.
Oh, no problem, Coach Jen. Feel free to reach out if you need any help or with anything whatsoever. I love helping other coaches.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So our last question, and you sort of keyed on this earlier, is music is huge to me. So like I feel like music translates so much to the sports world, and specifically baseball, because it's rhythm, it's timing, all of those little nuances that you don't think of. I appreciate it. So, and that being said, you're walking up to bat today for your first at bat. What's your walkout song going to be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Wow. When the Levee Breaks, Led Zeppelin.
There we go. That's some good old classic stuff right there, because you can't beat how that song starts out. I'm a classics rock guy, so I'm there with you. That's it.
I think that would have to be it. If I were to play any music out there, I just used to put the Creedence Clearwater Revival just hits on and just let it go. Just let it go back to back. Reggae works, but yeah, can't beat the classics out there. And the more you play them, the more the kids will start to like them too.
I agree. And kids should be subjected to that good music that was back then, because the stuff that's out today, Lord have mercy. Lord help us. Well, awesome. Mr. Klein, Coach Klein, I want to thank you very much for your time. And because I know this is really kind of in the middle of your work day over there in California. So Appreciate you very much, and we will definitely stay in touch because I think we can work on some stuff that's really cool. So hang with us just for a second here. We're going to close out the show. For all listeners, make sure you find us on social media, all of the different ones, Slide Podcast, all that fun stuff. And David, I want to make sure we give you a chance too. So if our listeners and what will be our viewers in the future, how can we find you?
I'm on all 6 platforms. Coach David Klein on Twitter, fairly active. I love helping coaches because if I can help coaches, I know they're going to help their players. Exactly. So as much as I love coaching one-to-one with kids, I know that I can make my biggest impact on the world when I'm helping other coaches. So if there's any coaches out there that I can help in any which way, feel free to reach out. You can look up Speedball. You can look up Coach David Klein. You can look up Legends Baseball on TikTok and on Instagram, and you should be able to find me.
Awesome. Well, and don't get it confused with the Jelly Bean dude. We know it's not him. So awesome. Well, Jen, until next time.
We'll catch you on the slide.